matter of fact, we know that we have Keynesian model talking about economic growth, and Keynesian model, the idea is quite simple: increase consumption, increase government expenditure, and increase investment, and then you can have more income, and you're going to have economic growth. And we just finished Harald-Doma's model. Okay, Soto's model. So the idea is kind of different and starts from production and use differentiation to talk about the sources of economic growth. So it can come from labor or even just population growth. There is a potential for economic growth, and then you're going to have increase in capital, increase in investment. And so you know that, as we mentioned, Keynesian model focus on demand. Okay, so it has nothing on what's the impact of investment. As a matter of fact, you have more investment. Of course, you have demand. Okay, but also you have increase in productivity. So this is the difference that Keynesian model does not catch. And so because of this fundamental difference, from Soto's model, you know that increase in saving, okay, then you're going to increase in investment, increase in capital. And because of that, saving is a driving force of economic growth. But Keynesian model does not capture that. Before we go on to talk about Harald-Doma model, let me mention this person, okay, Malthus. If I tell you Malthus, probably you don't have any idea. But if I put down his Mandarin, okay, probably you know something. Okay, so 马尔萨斯, right? So what does that tell you, Huang Weixin? When you heard of Malthus, 马尔萨斯, what's in your mind? What comes up?
No idea.
No idea, really? 马尔萨斯, nothing. Okay, 郑彩进. Malthus has a very important, you can say essay or book, okay, on population. On population, in terms of Mandarin, it is called this. Okay, so 郑彩进, any idea? No. 贝珍，马尔萨斯，人口论。
人口越多越不好。
Okay, good. Okay, so basically that's the story because let me give you this idea. Okay, in something like 1930. Okay, around 1930, the life expectancy. Okay, life expectancy. It is called this. It's about 45 years old. Okay, something like that. What about now? 公司员. You're talking about Japan? No, not even Japan. I think it's something like 87, 88. Taiwan could be 84, 85. Okay, so you know that in the past, the life expectancy. So when you get born, right, and then how are we gonna live? Okay, how many years are you gonna live? Probably just 45 years. It is not quite long. Okay, but now, of course, it's different. So what is Malthus he's talking about? Okay, he said, given all the conditions there, okay, population growth is greater than, okay, population growth is greater than the growth of food. Why? Because population growth is on geometric geometric series. And food growth is on arithmetic series. Okay, so what is geometric growth? Geometric. You have 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64, right? What about here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what is this? 朱广彦, what is this? 2 words. The first word is this. Exactly. And what about here? Exactly. So what happened? What happened is that the increase in food, okay, the increase in the production of food will never catch up with the increase in population, okay? So what does that mean? That means after a while, okay, could be 60 years, okay, 80 years, then the population is more than the society can afford. So when that happens, what is going on? Because food will never be enough to feed all these people. And so there will be shortage of food. When there's a shortage of food, because you are not healthy, right? So there's going to be disease. And because there is not enough food to go around, what happened? There will be war, okay? People fight each other to get food. And disease and food and war, what is going to happen? Population going to go down, okay? When population going to go down, then again, the production of food is able to, feed all these number of people, okay? But after a while, the thing's going to be repeat itself, okay? So, what is that? That's the reason economics is called dismal science. Because there will be a cycle. What is the cycle? Okay, when the production of food is not enough to feed all these people, then people are going to fight each other, okay, wars or robbery, and then because some people don't get enough food, they are weak, so there will be disease. And then after a while, what is going to happen? These people die either because of disease or because they fight each other or they kill each other. And then when population going down, then again, the food production is almost the same, but now because there are fewer people, so then they are able to feed them again. So if you look at the changes in the dynasty, okay, in China, the changes in dynasty in China, that's the same thing, right? If you look at Han Dynasty or Tang Dynasty, okay, for the first 60 years to 100 years, the economy is good, right? But then after a while, you got so many people, right? So you are not able to get enough food. And so what happened? There is disasters, disease, and then people fight each other. So most likely, so if you look at almost every dynasty is like that. Han Dynasty, Tang Dynasty, Song Dynasty, that's the same thing, right? After a while, what happened? The land, the production of the land is not able to feed these guys. So what happened? You have war. So if you look at China, even though, for example, Han Dynasty can be like 200 plus years, but the good time is probably just 20, 30 years, okay? So this is another growth theory, okay? It's by Malthus. And what happened is that because of his idea, right? Economy is called dismal silence. What is dismal? Li Boyan, what is dismal? Dismal basically means not good. Very pessimistic. Okay, pessimistic. Pessimistic. Okay, let's get back to Harudoma. Harudoma's model, it comes from Keynes, okay? And whether it is Keynes, classical, is all the same. Equilibrium, investment is equal to saving, okay? It doesn't matter, okay? Neoclassical, neo-Keynesian, always on this. But then for production function, we have already know Solo's model, right? Solo's model production function is F is a function of labor, capital, and technology. But for Harudoma, it's different, okay? It has a very specific production function. It's called the Young-tip, okay? And what is the Young-tip? It says that, okay, for every unit of capital, you need to have certain unit of labor. So the production is like this, okay? And this is B over A, okay? It is called capital labor ratio, okay? It means, but of course, if you learn from microeconomics, you know, sometimes labor and capital, you know, can be substituted, right? So this is a very special kind of production function. Okay, anyway, and then you're going to talk about several different kinds of society. They have different kinds of production technology. So for example, if you go to China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, okay, Burma, all these countries, they have more people, more population. So what would they do? They would have labor intensive, so they use more labor. But say, if you go to France, Great Britain, Germany, and the United States, right? They use more capital, okay? So you have capital intensive. And so there could be adjustment here based on the price of labor and also the price of capital. But basically, that is the way it is, okay? So this ratio could be high, okay? It could be low, depending on where you are. But basically, that's what it is. And also, he also assumed, okay, there is certain relationship between capital and output, okay? This makes sense, okay? This actually makes sense because to produce, you need to have capital. And of course, when you talk about different countries, the capital output ratio could be different, okay? In the United States, in G7, you know, it could be higher, but for other countries, it could be lower. And this is called sigma, okay? It's a Greek letter, okay? It's a Greek letter. And so what is investment? Investment is equal to changes in capital, okay? So at the beginning and at the end, okay, of course, we would assume at the end of the year, the capital is more than what's going on at the beginning of the year. So investment is equal to the changes in capital. And Y is equal to C plus I. This is exactly Keynesian model, right? Y is equal to C plus I. And so it is here, right? Y minus C, okay, you just move C to the left-hand side. Y minus C is equal to I. And from this, right, so you know, I is equal to changes in capital. And K has a relationship with output, right? So it is equal to sigma Y. So you get changes in capital is equal to sigma times changes in output. Okay, and Y minus C, what is that? C, okay, here, right? Sorry. C is equal to MPC times Y. So what is that? This is equal to 1 minus MPC times Y. And this one is equal to sigma times changes in output. So if you move this down here and this down here, so this is what you get. So this is G, growth rate. Okay, this is G, growth rate. Growth rate is equal to the changes in output divided by total output. Okay, changes in output divided by total output, and that is equal to 1 minus MPC divided by sigma. So again, Soto model is different from Keynes model. Keynes model develops from aggregate expenditure, from demand, and Soto's model developed from production. But here, Harodoma's model, it comes from Keynes, but it has a very different conclusion. Okay? So this is growth rate. It is change in output divided by output. And what is that? It is 1 minus MPC divided by sigma. And sigma is, okay, capital output ratio. And what is this? This is actually NPS, okay, divided by sigma. So what does that mean? Keynesian models say if you increase in consumption, you can increase in output, increase in income. But even though Harodoma, this model comes from Keynes, but he said if NPS is going up, what happened? Growth rate going up, okay? If saving rate going up, growth rate will go up. This is different from Keynes, okay? Very important here because it comes from Keynes, but the conclusion is different from Keynes. Keynes say if you want to have more output, more income, you need to have more consumption. But Harodoma say, well, you need to have more saving, okay? Why? Because it also mentioned production here, okay? So this is also related to production, even though not directly like Soto's model, okay? Okay, then we're gonna talk about monetary policy, okay? If you wanna make sure that you wanna do something, at least you need to know whether there is something wrong or not. So that's what we call recognition lag, okay? You have to recognize whether the economy is in recession or not. But to make sure that your economy is in recession, you have to have consecutively 2 quarters, okay? 2 quarters. 2 quarters. Okay. 陈玉晓, how long is 2 quarters? How long is 1 quarter? 1 quarter. So what is 1 quarter? Which one? 1 quarter means basically 1 quarter means 1/4. So which one? This one, right? Okay, so seasons. Basically, you know, in economies, when we talk about the economy, we don't say this one, season. We use quarter, okay? Quarter. So you need to have consecutively, okay? Consecutively, or we sometimes say in a row. So what does that mean? 连尾续 in a row or consecutively. What does that mean? So it means this quarter and back to back next quarter consecutively. Oh, they are together, okay? So you know that 1 quarter is 3 months, right? 1 quarter is 3 months. It's quite long. But business people talk about, you know, right now, okay, or tomorrow. 6 months is just too long, okay? 6 months is half a year, right? 6 months, half a year. And so you have to endure such a long time to figure out what's going on in terms of the economy. So that's just too long. So that's a lag here, okay? So when you realize that, well, the economy is not good, it's too late, okay? And so sometimes when we really want to do something, well, you just don't have enough time to figure out what's going on. Okay, so just like at this point, right, because of the tariff policy of the United States, so Taiwan actually have some companies, they are suffering from, loss of orders. They don't have orders and they have to lay off people. Okay, it happens right now. And then, if the government have to wait for 6 months to figure out what we should do, that is just not enough. Okay, the time lag is just too long. So oftentimes we call it recognition lag. So let us say, after you realize what's going on and you really have to do something, well, then what do you need to do? Because you have people arguing for fiscal policy and some other people, figure out that you should use monetary policy. So what's going on? You have two groups of people arguing with each other, say, well, this is what we should do, and this is what we should do. Monetary policy, increase money supply, lower down the interest rate, or what you need to do. For example, at this point, I think we have like 88 billion NT, a policy of that, right? NT dollar, 88 billion. But some people say actually the central bank should decrease the interest rate, okay? So that money gonna be cheaper, and then the company can borrow more money to deal with the slowdown in the economy, okay? So decision lag, you people have to argue with each other and see what's going on, right? So let us say you recognize what's wrong with the economy, and then you make sure that what's the policy you want to do, then you want to implement it, okay? But when you want to implement it, that's another issue, particularly for fiscal policy, okay? Because for fiscal policy, it has to go through the legislature, okay? Legislature. Okay, so Feng Jie, what's legislature? In Taiwan, we have 3 words. It's about law. So which one? We have executive yuan, legislative yuan, and judicial yuan, right? And control yuan, and examination yuan, right? So which one?
刑法、
黄家选，
立法院。
立法院. Okay, good. So, and you know that you have so many lawmakers, right? They argue with each other. It's going to take a long time. So fiscal policy, okay, has a dramatically longer lag on implementation. But for monetary policy, it's easy. Okay, the central bank can just get a meeting, and then they, after, if it is quickly, just a few hours, or maybe just, a whole day, then after the debate, they can get things done. Okay, increase or decrease the interest rate, increase money supply. Okay, if it is open market operation, okay, if it is open market operation, basically it sounds like the central bank can do that every day. Okay, but then to get the impact, okay, get the impact of the policy. For fiscal policy, because you have to get a budget done and then to spend it, okay, then it also takes a long time. But for monetary policy, it's sooner, okay, probably just after 1 or 2 months, okay, then the business people start new contract, new borrowing, and then the policy effect will be there, okay. So basically, these are the concerns of the policy issues, okay? You have the recognition lag, decision lag, implementation lag, and impact lag. So because of these issues, some people say, well, because you don't know what's going on, so don't do anything, okay? Or otherwise, you will be messed around. So some people say the best thing is to let the market work. So that's the classical school. We're gonna mention this again, next time we meet. Let's take a break. 那个。